Okay, first of all, I met Scott Peterson November 20th, 2002.
Directly to the killer, who may be in this room.
I'm going to turn now to that new charge for the so-called doomsday mom, Lori Vallow. Already charged in the killing of her 2 children, she is now being indicted for conspiracy to commit murder.
A violation of Penal Code Section 187 Prene, murder in the first degree. How do you plead?
Guilty.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to True Crime Headlines. I am Lauren, and this is week 42 of 2021. And you're going to get this episode a little bit early this week because this weekend I am actually flying out to Des Moines, Iowa. I've never been to Iowa, so this is going to be a new experience for me. I'm a Florida girl. For a True Crime Podcaster meetup. I'm going to be with some awesome podcasters, Kelly from True Crime IRL and Justin from Generation Y. And we will be at Zombie Burger and Drink Lab from 3 to 5 p.m. Saturday, October 23rd. And then later on that evening at 8 p.m., we will be at the Black Sheep Speakeasy. So if you are in the Des Moines, Iowa area or anywhere close, we would love to have you come, say hello, have a drink, hang out, talk some true crime. It's going to be a really good time. And tonight, I have a special surprise for everyone. I have the entire cast and crew of Paradise After Dark podcast here for this episode of True Crime Headlines. I would love to introduce to you my amazing co-host, Ken. Say hello, Ken.
Hello, everyone. I was getting there. Hello, everyone.
He's a little nervous. He's never been on this show
I've
before.
never been on this podcast. I'm not even sure if I'm a good podcaster or not.
Well, we've been doing Paradise After Dark for almost 4 years now.
Oh, yeah, it is almost 4 years, isn't it?
It is. Well, I had to have him come and help me tonight because we have a lot of news to cover. Breaking news that I wanted to get out as soon as possible. So I'm just going to dive into it.
Let's go right at it. So extra, read all about it.
Apparent human remains found in Florida Park during search for Brian Laundrie, missing fiance of murder victim Gabby Petito. Wow. The FBI on Wednesday announced the discovery of what appears to be human remains along with personal items believed to belong to Brian Laundrie in a Florida park, potentially ending the search for the missing fiancé of murdered blogger Gabby Petito. At a brief news conference, FBI Tampa Special Agent Michael McPherson said the items, including a backpack and a notebook, and the apparent human remains were found in an area that was previously underwater. Laundrie family attorney, our favorite, Stephen Bertolino, previously confirmed the items were believed to belong to Laundrie. The Sarasota County Medical Examiner's Office confirmed the agency was called to the Myakkahatchee Creek Environmental Park. Laundrie's parents went to the Myakkahatchee Creek Environmental Park to search for their son, Bertolino said. He said the FBI and Northport police were, quote, were informed last night of Brian's parents' intentions and met the couple at the park this morning. After a brief search of the trail that Brian frequented, some articles belonging to Brian were found. Law enforcement is conducting a more thorough investigation of the area. Bertolino did not say what items were found at the park, and police did not respond to a request for comment. The heavily wooded 160-acre park connects to the Carlton Preserve. Now, remember, that's where they were looking for him before.
That's where they've been looking for him for a really long time.
Over a month now.
Yeah.
So the Carlton Preserve is a 25,000-acre wetland and wilderness area where authorities spent, as we said, almost a month searching for him when his family reported him missing on September 17th. Family members said Laundrie had gone camping in the reserve days earlier. The FBI in Tampa tweeted that, quote, items of interest were found and that an FBI evidence response team was was processing the scene.
So what do you want to take away from that? Do you think that it's possible that now they're saying they were human remains found, or they've determined
Human remains.
They've determined that.
Yes.
Okay, so we determined the human remains, and now we've got items that potentially belong to him, a notebook, a backpack, and whatever else they're not allowing us to know.
Remains and personal items were previously submerged in water, authorities say. The apparent human remains officials found today, as well as personal items of Brian Laundrie, were covered by water until recently. So this is why they hadn't found anything. They hadn't found this stuff because it was all underwater.
Yeah, we have had some a dry 10 days, so it's been nice.
Yeah, it actually hasn't rained in like 10 days here. So
good relief for a while.
And just in case anybody doesn't realize, we are probably about an hour and a half away from this Brian Laundrie saga. So it's a little close to home for us, but we understand the water and the rain. Yeah. So earlier today, investigators found what appears to be human remains along with personal items such as a backpack and a notebook belonging to Brian Laundrie. FBI Tampa Division Special Agent in charge Michael McPherson said in a press conference. Again, these items were found in an area that up until recently have been underwater. If it is Brian Laundrie's remains, which I feel pretty confident that it probably is, this notebook, I think, is going to be super important because there may be a note, there may be some sort of explanation, or
Might
something.
be like a journal or a diary or something.
Something in that notebook, because otherwise we're never going to know what happened or why it happened
it's
to
possible.
Gabby Petito.
It's possible because he was a blogger, so he might be one of those people.
He wasn't the blogger, Gabby was.
Well, I'm saying, but he was part of it.
Right.
So it's possible that if he was some sort of blogger, and he kept a journal or, daily notes or something, it's possible that maybe, we can get some answers if in fact it's him. That's the only thing I find sad here was if in fact it's him, if in fact the search is over and Brian Laundrie is deceased, then we're not really going to have the answers we need. And technically speaking, we can't really pin the murder to him if we don't know what happened.
Exactly. So it's sort of, I don't know what the word is for it, but I guess a little disappointing. I was hoping they would find him alive and that he would be brought to justice.
My hope is that it's somebody else and Brian Laundrie is still being sought and we can find him, but we can put closure to another case. Maybe like a cold case that's out there where someone was lost. But if it's remains, how long has he been gone? Is it possible that underwater that his remains could be decomposed, or where they would call it remains?
Oh yes, if he's been there over a month, submerged in water, he's pretty well decomposed, almost completely probably.
Yeah, good point.
And he's probably been fed on by alligators and wildlife and snakes and...
Well, good. I understand that, but you're saying like there's remains. So in my mind, remains, I don't think of like one whole carcass, if you will, for lack of a better term.
No, I feel like it's pieces or something.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So that's what kind of throws me off a little bit, that, we're only talking a couple months, and if he's in water, don't you think they would have seen him floating if he was moving? I don't know the area or the dynamic of the terrain that they're at, so I don't know if it's like a pond or a puddle. You know what I mean? If it's like a pond, or is there moving water?
Well, I was watching it live today, and it was not like a pond. It was an area covered in trees, and I don't know the depth of the water, but it's very reminiscent of when they found Caylee Anthony, because they had searched that area where they found Caylee Anthony.
Yeah, good point.
And it was completely underwater when they started the search, and then it was in December when they found her, when all the water had dried up. So,
that's
standing water. We've had up to 6 inches of standing water in our yard.
Yeah, just a backyard.
Yeah, so it doesn't matter if it's a pond or something.
What I'm saying is he would have been noticed.
Well, I don't know. I don't know.
I guess
really don't know.
I guess we're gonna wait for some details, and maybe some more stuff will break and come out.
Maybe I will do a special while I'm on my trip. I'll have to do it from my cell phone, but if I get some breaking updates or something, I will definitely
keep your listeners informed for sure.
Keep you guys informed.
Yeah.
So moving on, Mary Kay Letourneau wrote letters apologizing to family and friends before death. Quote, she made a lot of mistakes. So Mary Kay Letourneau, the OG of the teacher-student relationship scandals, reportedly wrote letters to friends and family members apologizing for her mistakes prior to her death from stage 4 cancer. She had a lot of wrongs to right, a legal source who knew Letourneau for more than 20 years and received a note from her, told People in a story published on Friday, October 15th. She had a lot of things to say. She made a lot of mistakes in her 58 years, not just the big one everyone knows about. And she wanted everyone to know that she was sorry for the mistakes she's made. Now, just a quick refresher for those who may have forgotten or maybe weren't even born yet. The Seattle, Washington school teacher, Mary Kay Letourneau, made national headlines in 1996 when she was caught having a sexual relationship with her then student, Vili Falau. Letourneau and Falau, now 38, lied to officials at first, claiming he was 18 at the time of their tryst, but he was only about 12 or 13 years old. As for Letourneau, she was 34 years old and still married to her first husband, Steve Letourneau, with whom she had 4 children. The Tustin, California native later pled guilty to second-degree rape charges, and while she was awaiting sentencing, Letourneau gave birth to her first daughter with Falau, daughter Audrey, in 1997. Upon her release from behind bars in 1998, authorities discovered their forbidden relationship had resumed, leading her previous plea agreement to be revoked. The judge sentenced her to 7.5 years in prison for violating a no-contact order, and during her stint in jail, Letourneau gave birth to her and Falau's second child together, Georgia. After serving her time, Letourneau and Falau, who was 21 at the time, got married in May 2005, stayed together until he filed for legal separation in 2017. However, the paperwork was later withdrawn. In March 2019, Falau resumed the process again, and their separation was granted in August of 2019. I don't know if he received a note, but I do know that she made things right with him as best she could, the source told People. She loved him until the end. She knew, especially near the end, that the ends don't justify the means, and that even her wonderful daughters and long marriage didn't excuse how she got there, added the source. And she hoped that no one else would ever make the mistakes she made. Letourneau died at age 58 from stage 4 cancer in July of 2020, and despite their split, Falau said he was there to be by her side during her final moments.
Okay, and for the next story, we're going to talk about super douche Robert Durst. He is sick with COVID-19 and on a ventilator following his life sentence, lawyer says. New York real estate heir Robert Durst has tested positive for COVID-19 and is currently connected to a ventilator. All we know, he's tested positive for COVID-19. He's in the hospital on a ventilator. Dick DeGuerin told NBC News on the phone call, he looked awful Thursday. Worst I've ever seen him. He's having difficulty breathing. He's having difficulty speaking.
I don't think you can speak if you have a ventilator down your throat.
No, and you shouldn't be speaking if you've done the nasty things this guy's done. His diagnosis comes the same week he was sentenced to life in prison for murdering a friend more than 20 years ago in a slaying possibly tied to the killer's missing wife. Now, DeGuerin said he believes Durst was vaccinated but didn't know if he had COVID-19 vaccine booster. Now, Grace Medrano, the spokesperson for Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department, told NBC News in an email that they can't answer medical questions related to Durst's health, citing HIPAA privacy rules, which establishes national standards to protect an individual's medical records and other personal health information. Medrano also declined to disclose Durst's vaccination status. So hold on, wait. So wait a second. So it's a HIPAA violation to ask someone's vaccination status?
Interesting, isn't it? All right, let's take a quick break.
Okay.
And we'll be right back. Okay, and we are back. Accused Florida school shooter pleads guilty in 2018 Parkland massacre. The accused shooter pleaded guilty on Wednesday to 17 counts of murder and 17 counts of attempted murder in the 2018 mass shooting at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida, the deadliest ever at a U.S. high school. At a hearing, the shooter, now 23, stood hunched over and entered one guilty plea at a time as the judge read off the charges. His lawyer, David Wheeler, Broward County's chief assistant public defender, said last week the shooter intended to plead guilty in the Valentine's Day attack. The shooter was 19 years old and was an expelled student with a history of mental health and behavioral issues at the time of the cold, calculated, and premeditated killings, Broward County State Attorney's Office said in court documents. After the pleas were entered, the shooter removed his COVID-19 mask and apologized to his victims. "I am very sorry for what I did, and I have to live with it every day," he said, and that if I were to get a second chance, I will do everything in my power to try and help others. I have to live with this every day, and it brings me nightmares that I can't live with myself sometimes. He wore a dark blue sweater vest and a blue shirt. He was thin and had on large glasses. His hands clutched the wooden podium he stood at while the judge spoke to him. As a prosecutor read a detailed account of the incident, relatives and friends of the victims sat in the courtroom gallery, wiping tears from their eyes and holding each other. Because prosecutors have vowed to seek the death penalty, his change of plea from not guilty opens the penalty phase. A jury would decide whether he should be sentenced to life in prison or death.
A jury?
Yes. In Florida, juries determine whether to impose a death sentence or not. If prosecutors are not willing to drop the potential death penalty as part of any plea deal that may be struck with the shooter, then a jury would decide. Broward County Circuit Judge Elizabeth Scherer scheduled jury selection for the penalty phase in the case to begin on January 4th. She also set a status hearing for October 26th. During a hearing last week, the shooter pleaded guilty to assault and battery on law enforcement officers in a separate case in which he is accused of kicking, hitting, and punching a sheriff's deputy, as well as attempting to remove his taser in a November 2018 jail attack. Before accepting his guilty plea, Judge Scherer asked him if he understood the impact the assault case could have on the penalty phase of the murder case. "Sir, I need to advise you that the state is going to be using this conviction in this case as evidence of an aggravating factor for purposes of arguing in favor of the death penalty. Do you understand that?" "Yes, ma'am," he responded.
So he's well aware that everything he does right now can and will be used against him in a court of law?
Yes.
Miranda, bitches.
Yep.
Just saying. It ain't just, careful what you say, it's careful what you do.
Yep.
That's just my, that's my observation here.
And if anything, and I'm not going to get into death penalty, believing in it or not, but if there's ever someone who deserved it, it would be this shooter, which we are not naming, by the way.
Yeah.
Because,
and Ted Bundy, of course. But he's already dead because of the death penalty. But anyway.
All right.
Just
Why don't you go
there.
ahead and read the next story?
Okay. I can read the next story. I think I can. There's some big words in it, but I'll give it a shot. No, okay. Now 41, man who killed 4-year-old at age 13 granted parole. So do you guys remember this? Again, were you even born yet? I mean, I know I was. This case was nuts and so very disturbing. Now, Eric Smith, who was 13 when he killed a 4-year-old boy with a rock in western New York, has been granted parole, and this is what the corrections officials told us on Saturday. Now, Smith, now 41, appeared for 11th time before the Board of Parole on October 5th and was granted release as early as November 17th. The Department of Corrections and the Community Supervision said this in an emailed statement. Now, Smith was convicted of second-degree murder in 1994 for luring Derek Robbie into the woods near the younger boy's home and striking his head with a rock. Now, Derek was walking alone to summer camp at a park in the Steuben County village of Savannah in August of 1993. The case got wide publicity because of the tender age of the victims and the suspect. Now, along with widely circulated photo of the adolescent Smith in court wearing a Bugs Bunny sweatshirt and a mop of red hair. Now, Smith's lawyer unsuccessfully argued that he was mentally ill, and Smith was sentenced to 9 years to life in prison. Now, Derek's parents, Dale and Doreen Robbie, opposed Smith's release each time it was previously considered and have lobbied for parole reforms that include extending the time between hearings for violent offenders from the current 2 years to 5. So this way they can just basically, they want to keep him in there longer because obviously, they were very affected by this. This is life-altering stuff here.
Obviously, he murdered their son.
Exactly. It's very life-altering. Dale Robbie told local media the family did not want to comment on the latest decision. Smith is housed at the medium-security Woodburn Correction Facility in the Catskills. So this guy...
I remember this.
Yeah, this guy decided he was a teenager.
He was 13.
Yeah, he was just a fresh teenager. And, this is the thing where this happened, and he, unfortunately, this 4-year-old lost his life. But here's a scenario where it happened, and they got him, they arrested him, they convicted him, and since he's been behind bars, they probably stopped a lot of other murders.
Well, speaking of stopping other murders, that's just a perfect segue into the next headline. A released murderer is charged with murdering a missing South Florida mom found dead in a canal. Police charged a convicted murderer who was released from prison last year for murdering a woman in South Florida whose body was found in a canal after being missing for 3 weeks. Eric Pearson, 54, was charged with one murder for killing Erica Verdecia 33 hours after the body was found near Fort Lauderdale on Saturday. Hinode police say Pearson confessed that he had stabbed a single mother 4 times with a driver on September 25th. Pearson was released from prison in September 2020 after serving a 40-year sentence for 27 years for beating and strangling 17-year-old Christina Whitaker in 1993. He pleaded guilty to second-degree murder. Now, Florida abolished parole after the murder and demanded that prisoners be sentenced to at least 85% of the sentence. However, the charges could not be applied retroactively, and Pearson remained eligible, leading to last year's release. So, he was sentenced to 40 years. He served 27. Verdecia's mother told Sun Sentinel in South Florida that she had no idea why Pearson was free to attack her daughter. Erica Verdecia leaves a 6-year-old daughter behind. This case is not in mainstream media. It's not being reported, really, in mainstream. I'm not sure why, because I think it's kind of a big deal that this guy was just let out on parole a year ago, and there he is murdering again. It kind of says something about...
Yeah, because if they would have, if the 85% of your time had been instilled into the system prior to his release,
then he would
still be behind bars.
In prison, yeah.
And this incident never would have happened.
All right, so let's move on.
Now, a woman was raped on a Pennsylvania train while fellow passengers watched and did nothing. Now, this story is horrifying. A woman was allegedly raped on a Southeastern Pennsylvania Transportation Authority train Wednesday as other riders failed to intervene. This is what the police tell us. Now, speaking on the alleged assault, SEPTA tells people the incident was a horrendous criminal act and urges anyone who observes a crime being committed or any dangerous situation occurring to report it. Now, the harrowing incident was captured on surveillance footage that authorities are reviewing at this time. Timothy Bernhardt, the superintendent of the Upper Darby Township Police Department, told this to the New York Times. Now, according to SEPTA, spokeswoman Andrew Bush, a man who police identified as Fiston Ngoy, allegedly sat down next to a woman on a train traveling westbound on the Market-Frankford line and allegedly attempted to touch her. This is what the New York Times reported. Now, Bush said Ngoy then allegedly proceeded to rip her clothes off, the Times reported. Now, authorities also told the Times that during the alleged assault, which lasted 8 minutes, 8 minutes, people. Think about that. Just take 8 minutes
This is absolutely
of silence and think about 8 minutes for a minute.
insane.
The worst part is no passengers tried to stop the alleged attack. It wasn't until Transportation Authority employee boarded the train that the incident was reported to the police. Now, this is what Bush told the Times. Now, in a statement to People, Bush confirmed that Nagoy, who was 35, has been charged with rape, indecent assault, and other related offenses. The Upper Darby Township Police Department, lead agency in the criminal investigation, did not respond to People's request for comment by time of publication. Now, Bernhardt said there were multiple passengers aboard the train car during the alleged assault, per the Times. Although there were not dozens of people, there were enough riders that collectively they could have gotten together and done something, Bernhardt said. He added that surveillance footage from the train car indicates that passengers could have intervened to stop the assault, while the police have not confirmed reports from investigators that some bystanders recorded the attack. Bernhardt said that if passengers did record the assault, they could be criminally charged for their actions.
So they had their cell phones out recording the assault instead of intervening and trying to help this woman.
You know, that's one thing that I'm very passionate about, that I really get pissed off about, is you see some videos of stuff, and I think to myself, why are you filming and not helping?
Right.
Now, I'll be honest. I have I've got a family. I've got a beautiful wife.
That's me.
And I can't fathom myself being in a situation where a stranger, someone in this situation, is something this horrendous is happening, and I'm not helping. So all I can say is, if this were happening on my watch, shit's going to happen. I'm going to intervene. I don't care how big he is. I don't care how many there are. I'm going to do what I can in these situations. But I do see so many situations where people just get out their phones and record instead of doing something. It's like everyone wants to have this video go viral. Oh, I can put this out and it'll go viral. And I just can't fathom that in my brain. I guess I'm old school. I can't fathom how that works. But now, I'm appalled by those who did nothing to help this woman, he said, per the Times. Anybody that was on the train has to look in the mirror and ask why they didn't intervene or why they didn't do something. See, that's what I'm saying. I could never live with myself beyond that. Now, Nagoya is being held at Delaware County Jail on $180,000 bail. Now, according to the Times, as of Sunday, he had not retained an attorney. Now, anyone who has witnessed the assault is encouraged to contact the Upper Darby Township Police. Any thoughts on this?
Oh, it's just, I don't even know. I can't even really put into words. Like, I could just go on a rant about it, but I think that I'm just going to stop and say that that is disgusting, and those people should be ashamed of themselves. And if society keeps going in this direction, we're all fucked.
I mean, I was raised on the help the fellow man policy.
Yeah.
That's me.
I don't know Pennsylvania laws. I don't know what, the rules are. But in this day and age, as a woman, I truly believe in protecting yourself. And I have a concealed weapons permit, and I do carry a weapon. Because in this day and age, there's so many fucking crazies, and Ken can help. He can testify to this. We've been doing true crime podcasting now for 4 years. There's so many crazies in this world, and females in general, and I'm not trying to piss off feminists or anything, but we are more vulnerable, and we have to take steps to protect ourselves. Mm-hmm. And me, I have a concealed weapons permit. I was a Navy police officer. I am highly trained in firearms. I know what I'm doing. I know how to use it. I think that all women should learn the rules, learn how to shoot, learn how to handle a weapon, and protect yourself. Because if that was me on that train, that man would have had a bullet in his abdomen.
Yeah, it would have been, you stop.
If that was me on that train and I wasn't even the one being raped, that man still would have had, in the state of Florida anyway, the stand your ground law. As I said, I don't know the laws in Pennsylvania, but in the state of Florida, you can intervene and use deadly force to protect yourself or others from death or serious bodily harm. So I think
rape is a very strong form of seriously serious bodily harm.
I agree. Therefore, if that happened and I was there, I would have pulled my .38 right out of my purse and shot that motherfucker.
Yeah, I don't think we know the exact number of people that were on the plane. There were other riders on the plane.
Not plane.
I meant train. Never mind me. Sorry.
Let's take a break.
I've been drinking for a while, so let's take a quick break.
Let's take a quick break.
Okay, welcome back. So our next story brings us to a Wisconsin boy who's 3 years old, and he's missing after his mom was murdered and a suspect died by suicide after police closed in on him. Now, the Wisconsin authorities are desperately searching for a 3-year-old boy who vanished after his mother was found slain Thursday night. The man, who police believe killed the boy's mother, died by suicide as officers closed in on him, says the authorities. Now, on Thursday, Milwaukee police began searching for Major P. Harris, 3 years old, who disappeared after his mother, Mallory Monzenberger, who was 25 at the time, was found dead in the backyard of a Milwaukee home. The boy was nowhere to be found after his mother's killing, says police. Police believe a suspect in the murder, Jaheim Clark, who's 20 years old, may have taken the child, according to the Amber Alert issued for the boy. On Sunday at about 4:01 p.m., Clark died by an apparent self-inflicted gunshot wound at home on the 5400 block of the North 41st Street as officers approached it. Now, authorities have said this and explained that they were closing in and the suicide occurred at that time. So they were closing in on him while he was still alive, and obviously they found him dead. But police were unable to find the boy after Clark's death, according to the Amber Alert. Now, it's unclear how Clark knew Musenberger or what their relationship was. Now, the boy's father, Carlton Harris Jr., spoke to Fox 6 News and asked anyone who knows where his son is to come forward and call the police. Now, Harris is described as a black boy with brown eyes, shoulder-length black hair. He has a bit of a delayed speech and a small abrasion on his right cheek, according to an Amber Alert issued after he vanished. He is 3 feet tall and weighs 40 pounds. He was last seen wearing a dark blue t-shirt with a small pocket on the left side, and navy blue Nike basketball shorts, and he was barefoot when he went missing. Now, anyone with any information at all is asked to call 911 or the Milwaukee Police Department at 414-935-7405.
That's scary.
That's a scary thought.
I wonder where he could be.
Yeah, and this is what we talked about earlier with the Brian Laundrie, when the murderer or the suspected murderer is dead or goes missing. It's tough because you don't have the answers you're looking for. So, and we're talking about, I hope the boy is found. I hope he's alive. I mean, he's 3 years old. I can't imagine how scared he is right now. And
Wherever he is.
That's the part that bothers me the most.
All right, let's move on because we still got quite a bit to cover, actually. And we're back with Murdaugh. Tip of the iceberg. Alex Murdaugh denied bond as cops tease new dirt. Alex Murdaugh is finally stuck in jail. Yay. South Carolina Judge Clifton Newman denied the disgraced legal scion, and yes, I said scion because I know Nigel Kent from Trouble in Paradise is listening, and he hates that word. The disgraced legal scion bond on Tuesday and ordered him to remain at Richland County Detention Center on charges stemming from an alleged scheme to steal millions from the family of his former housekeeper, Gloria Satterfield. The judge's decision went beyond the prosecution's request for Murdaugh to be held on a $200,000 surety bond and a GPS monitor, and he rejected entirely the defense's request for a personal recognizance bond for the lawyer to go back to drug rehab in Florida. Now, Murdaugh, whose family has been tantamount to the law in the South Carolina Lowcountry for decades and whose wife and son were murdered last spring, must undergo psychiatric evaluation. Newman said Tuesday that he would reconsider his stance on bail after the evaluation. Murdaugh is a danger, a man who is a danger to himself and is a danger to others, Assistant Attorney General Crichton Waters said at a Tuesday bond hearing in Richland County Court. This is the tip of the iceberg. There is far more we will reveal soon. As we know, since we have been following this saga, prosecutors allege that after Satterfield fell and hit her head on Murdaugh property in 2018 and later died from a stroke and cardiac arrest, the lawyer coordinated with the housekeeper's family to sue himself in order to seek an insurance settlement. But even though Satterfield's two sons were set to receive a chunk of a $4.3 million settlement, they have not received a dime after Murdaugh allegedly negotiated in secret and ultimately pocketed the cash for his own use. The charges came less than a month after Murdaugh was charged in a doomed plot to kill himself so his surviving son, Buster, could collect a $10 million insurance payout of his own. The elaborate scheme also included the patriarch's alleged drug dealer and came just 3 months after Murdaugh's wife, Maggie, and son, Paul, were found murdered outside their Hampton County estate. At the time, his son, Paul, was facing charges for a 2019 boat crash that killed a teenage girl. Murdaugh has also been implicated in a series of lawsuits, ranging from allegations he conspired to influence the 2019 investigation to claims that he swindled millions from Satterfield's wrongful death lawsuit meant for his sons. At the time of his latest arrest last Thursday, Murdaugh was at a drug facility in Orlando, Florida for opioid addiction and already out on bond for the insurance fraud charges. During the latest bond hearing, Murdaugh's lawyers opined about their client's various legal woes and his progress battling addiction. In arguing for Murdaugh's release back to Florida to continue treatment, defense attorney Dick Harpootlian said that his client could not be considered a flight risk because he, quote, really has nowhere to go. The Alex Murdaugh, who is not hooked on drugs, has lived a good, fruitful, lawful life, defense attorney Jim Griffin added. He truly regrets his conduct. Harpootlian added that Murdaugh has struggled with his opioid addiction for more than a decade and wanted to continue the drug detox and treatment he had been doing for the last 6 weeks. Flanked by his two lawyers at the defense table and wearing a navy blue prison jumpsuit and mask, Murdaugh remained silent throughout the hearing and declined Judge Newman's offer to speak for himself. An attorney who represents Satterfield's family, however, slammed Murdaugh's defense team and argued the lawyer should be held without bail after he has stained our profession and put a black eye on the state. Today is the day that Alex Murdaugh needs to get comfortable with being uncomfortable, Eric Bland told the court. Our position is he does not deserve bond. He stole. He's a liar and a cheat. And the Murdaugh saga continues. Oh my gosh.
Okay, extra, read all about it.
Moving on, Ghislaine Maxwell. Haven't heard about her in a while. Ghislaine Maxwell's lawyers want to bar using the words victims, minor victims, or mention alleged rape by Epstein at trial.
Yeah, her attorneys are hoping to bar prosecutors from using the terms victims, minor victims, or mention any of the allegations of rape by Jeffrey Epstein at her upcoming sex trafficking trial. It's basically just a rewrite of what you said.
Maxwell's attorney, Jeffrey Pagliuca, filed a notice Monday obtained by Oxygen.com outlining more than a dozen motions they plan to file to suppress or exclude evidence or testimony in her federal criminal trial slated to begin next month. The motions in limine, as they are called, are motions to be discussed outside the presence of a jury to exclude evidence from a trial. Among the list of 13 motions the defense team plans to file the case, Maxwell's attorneys are asking a federal judge to prevent prosecutors from using numerous phrases often linked to her case, including the use of the word victims or minor victims. They also seek to prevent any testimony about any alleged rape by Jeffrey Epstein. Maxwell has been accused by federal prosecutors of helping Epstein, a convicted sex offender, recruit, groom, and sexually abuse underage girls. She had pleaded not guilty to the charges against her.
Just a quick question for you, your personal opinion. Do you feel like R. Kelly was involved with Epstein and all that too?
That's not even crossed my mind. But now,
is it possible?
Thank you for putting that in my head.
Well, I only say that because did you know R. Kelly is now talking about wanting to start turning people in? So I'm curious if there's going to be any intermingling of names and stuff between this trial and things that come out and the Epstein. And I wonder if R. Kelly had any involvement with Epstein. It was just a question I have. I know you don't have an answer, but it's just a question.
Interesting thought. Epstein, who was facing federal charges of sex trafficking himself, took his own life in a New York federal jail cell in August of 2019.
No, he didn't.
Supposedly took his own life. As the case against Maxwell proceeds, her attorneys are asking the federal judge to exclude testimony from one of her accusers, known in court documents as Accuser 3, exclude evidence seized from a search of Epstein's Palm Beach home in 2005, and exclude any unauthenticated hearsay document from a suspect source, whatever that means. Her attorneys also hope to keep out evidence of alleged false statements Maxwell allegedly made under oath during depositions in a civil case brought on by vocal Epstein accuser Virginia Giuffre. Prosecutors have accused Maxwell of repeatedly lying during the testimony she provided under oath in 2016 in an effort to conceal her crimes, according to an indictment in the case. The allegations that she perjured herself under oath will be heard separately from her sex trafficking case, which is scheduled to begin on November 29th, according to Law and Crime. Her attorneys have also proposed using a secretive process to screen potential jurors in the case by questioning them out of the public spotlight. A tsunami of reporting in every conceivable form — newspapers, magazines, books, television, radio, video streaming services, podcasts, social media platforms — has broadcast this case locally, nationally, and globally, said her attorney, Bobby Sternheim, in an October 12th memo obtained by Law and Crime about the intense media coverage the case has already received. Without a doubt, and without any credible evidentiary basis, Miss Maxwell has been tried, convicted, and condemned in the court of public opinion.
Well, yeah, you got to stop and think. I mean, it'd be tough to find jurors that don't know about the case. I mean, usually when they do a jury or pull a jury, one of the criteria is that you know a very minimal amount about the case that you're about to be a juror on. And I can imagine with today's media, podcasts, I mean, all the things that you mentioned earlier, it's got to be tough for this information not to reach everyone's ears, because no matter what platform you listen to any type of news, whether it be the radio, podcast, newspaper, the evening news, whatever happens to be, there's always something about these cases, especially this case. This is huge.
Right.
And so I couldn't imagine how they could find a jury that doesn't have any previous knowledge of the case.
Well, it's going to be hard.
Yeah.
Nicholas Bias, a spokesman for the U.S. Attorney's Office in the Southern District of New York, declined to comment to Oxygen.com on the defense motions. Maxwell's brother, Ian Maxwell, recently came to his sister's defense, insisting in a new interview with The Telegraph that his sister is innocent. Ghislaine has people who love her, people who trust her. This is a family that has been knocked down, gets up, gets knocked down again, and then gets up, he said. We are a family that fights for each other, and this is a big fight we are in. We are hopeful justice will prevail, as it must.
Innocent's a pretty big word to use in this case. I'm just going to put that out there.
I don't think she's completely innocent at all.
Exactly. I mean, okay, if you're going to, I would have used the term not guilty. I don't think I would have said innocent.
Okay. Last story, and then I have a audio clip to play for you guys. This is crazy. This is like totes cray-cray. And
Did
this
you just say totes cray-cray?
I did say totes cray-cray.
Are people still saying that? I hope so,
I
because I
don't
say it all the time.
I don't know. But this just came to my notifications like right before we started recording, and I had to quickly throw it together and
Hot off the press.
Get the audio. So here we go. Chad Daybell.
Oh, I'm done. I'm tired of this guy.
Chad Daybell called funeral home hours after Charles Vallow was killed, police reports show.
Seriously?
Yes. Chad Daybell called an Arizona funeral home the day that Charles Vallow was shot and killed by Lori Vallow Daybell's brother, according to a newly released police document. He spelled his name as Chad Daybell, D-A-B-A-L. Now it's actually spelled D-A-Y-B-E-L-L, but he told the funeral home it was D-A-B-A-L, and he asked how much cremation would cost. A transcript of the phone call to Valley of the Sun Mortuary and Cemetery was included in a Chandler police report. The call was made just before 8 p.m. on July 11, 2019. Vallow would have been shot and killed about 12 hours earlier, according to the documents. We just had a death in the family, and we really don't want anything but a cremation and then to send the cremains to a family in Louisiana, Daybell asked the funeral home employee in a recorded call. Just a simple no, nothing other than the cremation and sending him to his family for a service in Louisiana. So is there any way to know a ballpark price on that? Daybell claimed to be from Iowa and said that his uncle, John Daybell, had died at the hospital, and he said the body would be taken to the medical examiner and explained he wanted the body cremated in Chandler before shipping the cremains to New Orleans. And we'll deal with the service later. And then he giggles. The transcript of the call reads. I'm not going to keep going over the transcript because I'm just going to play the call for you.
Oh, that's right. You got the clip. You got that clip?
Yes.
The call?
Yes.
Oh, goodness.
So the day after Vallow was shot and killed, Lori Vallow sent a text to his two sons who lived in another state. Hi, boys. I have very sad news. Your dad passed away yesterday. I'm working on making arrangements, and I'll keep you informed with what's going on. I'm still not sure how to handle things. Just want you to know that I love you, and so did your dad. This is what she sent in a text message to his sons.
So he called the funeral home and asked for a quote?
Chad Daybell did. Now let's put this into perspective. Okay, so Lori Vallow was married to Charles Vallow. And Lori Vallow's brother, Alex Cox, shot and killed Charles Vallow. And the same day that Charles Vallow was murdered, Chad Daybell, who is now Lori Vallow's husband, called the cemetery asking for a quote.
Here's why that blows me away. You don't ask that question. You just say, how much is it? Okay, fine, here's a check.
Valley of the Sun Mortuary and Cemetery ended up handling arrangements for Vallow's remains, according to his obituary. His body was reportedly cremated, and funeral staff told detectives they only dealt with Lori for the arrangements. Lori's brother, Alex Cox, told investigators he shot and killed Vallow in self-defense, but a grand jury has indicted Lori in June of this year for felony conspiracy to commit murder. Cox could not face charges since he himself died in December 2019. Arizona detectives recommended that Daybell be charged in connection with Vallow's death, but prosecutors declined, saying there is no reasonable likelihood of conviction. Court records show there is no obvious communication between Daybell and Lori to indicate he was directly involved in planning Charles's shooting. While authorities declined to charge Daybell in the Vallow shooting case, he and Lori face a lengthy list of charges in Idaho. Both were indicted by a Fremont County grand jury in May on charges including first-degree murder in the death of Tammy Daybell, Chad's previous wife, and Lori's two kids, 7-year-old Joshua J.J. Vallow and 16-year-old Tylee Ryan. The couple is also facing charges concerning the destruction, alteration, and concealment of the children's bodies. There is no date yet scheduled for Daybell's trial, and Lori's case remains on hold after a judge committed her to a mental health facility. So I'm going to go ahead and play that phone call for you now.
Yeah, I want to hear it.
Third ring answer.
Funeral home?
Hello, my name is I'm with their calls. How can I help you today?
We just had a death in the family, and we really don't want anything but a cremation and then to send the cremains to a family in Louisiana. It's just a simple, nothing other than a cremation and sending him to the family for a service in Louisiana. So, is there any way to know a ballpark price on that?
Yes, and I'm sorry for your loss.
Thank you.
Okay, let me transfer you over to the director who can assist you with the pricing. What is your name, please?
It is Chad Daybell.
How do you spell the last name, please?
D-A-B-A-L, Daybell.
How are you related to the person who passed?
I'm his nephew.
And then also, this is for the Valley of the Suns in Chandler, correct?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, he lives there in Chandler. I live in Iowa, so I'm just trying to help out.
Oh, okay, thank you. Yes, what is your uncle's name for reference, please?
He is John Dayball.
Your last name?
Well, D-A-B-A-L. The same. John.
Do you have a middle name?
Myron.
M-Y-R-O-N?
Yeah.
And Chad, what is your phone number in case we get disconnected?
Yes. This number, 515. I don't actually know my own number. Let me look real quick.
Thank you. Thank you. Is he at a nursing home, hospital, or residence?
He passed away in a hospital. I don't know the details. I'm just telling you.
Yeah, it's just for, to know, because sometimes it's different if it's a residential or hospital or a nursing home.
I'm thinking they're sending him to the medical examiner. I'm not sure. I should have had more information before I called. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Alright, cremation with shipping. To which city?
New Orleans. Again.
Okay, one moment please, Chad, but stay on the line. Let me transfer you over to the director who can assist you with that.
Alright, thank you.
Thank you. Hello, Chad?
Yeah.
Thank you for holding. I do have the director, Clarissa, to further assist you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Senior Director with Valley of the Sun Mortuary Cemetery. I understand that your uncle passed away.
Yes, and I'm just starting the process for the family. He didn't have many relatives. I'm his nephew. I live in Iowa. But what they want to do is sad to see him go. Yeah, I think he's going to the medical examiner. I don't know all the details, but what the family basically wants is just to have him cremated there in Chandler and then have his cremains shipped to New Orleans. And we'll deal with the service later. So just trying to get a ballpark price.
Okay, so for a cremation, we are able to do our cremation for $1,695. Now what that's going to include is the transportation into our care, the transportation to and from our crematory, our basic professional fees, as well as our crematory fee. Now, there's going to be a couple other charges there for you.
Okay.
So we are going to have death certificates, which are $20 a piece, with a processing fee.
Okay.
$15 permit fee.
All right.
And then we're able to do that transfer through the mail for you, and that's $150 fee for you.
Okay. Like the UPS or something, I guess.
Okay.
So close, about 2,000 probably. Kind of a ballpark, I guess.
Close to, yeah.
Okay. Well, that helps me a lot. I'm going to call one or two others, but I'll get back to you if we come that direction. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. If you need anything else, give me a call.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
And that's all she wrote for week 41 of 2021. Thank you all for listening.
Thank you, Lauren, for having me.
And thank you, Ken, for joining me on this episode. And again, if you guys are going to be, if there's anyone in Des Moines, Iowa this weekend, come see me. Otherwise, I'll talk at you next week.
And I'll keep reporting as long as it's safe to do so.
Okay, first of all, I met Scott Peterson November 20th, 2002.
Directly to the killer, who may be in this room.
I'm going to turn now to that new charge for the so-called doomsday mom, Lori Vallow, already charged in the killing of her two children. She is now being indicted for conspiracy to commit murder.
A violation of Penal Code Section 187 Prene, murder in the first degree. How do you plead?
Guilty.